So
Okay.
what I do, call wealth beyond money talk. And what
Okay.
wealth beyond money for me is about creating a space for people who are already operating at a high level to speak
Yeah.
from a deeper place, not about what they do, but really about what they're carrying. So, for
Mm.
you, it's like, when we spoke before, there were a few moments that really stuck with me. So today I just want to slow things down and
Okay.
explore what feels most alive for you right now. That cool?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, sweet. Sweet. When we spoke last time, you
Hmm.
shared you shared that moment at the airport in Lagos, and
Ooh.
the clarity in your body where you just knew you were
Yeah.
putting on that responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, just walk me back into that moment, and what were you actually releasing there? Not intellectually, but internally.
Yeah. Internally. So for context, assuming there is an audience one day for this conversation. So my family's from Nigeria, both parents, and I grew up my whole entire life in Southern California. So I'm a Cali girl all the way down to my tippy toes. And I spent my whole life hearing my parents speak about Nigeria, but really my dad. My dad was like, is like I call him like a Nigerian Black Panther. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's just like fight the power, like Black Panthers slash like Public Enemy. You know what I mean? Like just like very like Chuck D, you know, like just
Yeah, you
in
speak in my language. You speak in my
you
language.
know, like intellectual rapper for the justice of Nigeria. You know, like
I got you. Yeah, I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I
okay.
got you.
So growing up, I literally would just hang on his every word around like anecdotes and stories about Nigeria. And in my coming of age years, late teens, so like 18, 19, early 20s, I started to be able to hear what he was saying more because I had matured. So I was starting to hear like, okay, Nigeria is a complex place. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, all right now. So this oil like wasn't really, it was a mixed bag in terms of, like its
Oh yeah.
impact. I didn't catch that at age 8, you know what I mean? But like
Mhm.
when I was 19 and he and I went to go see Fela on Broadway, and
Nice.
that, oh, literally like that experience that cherished forever. I saw my dad cry for the first time. And
Mhm.
because he really he was like a part of Fela's brigade, if you will, in the sense that
Right.
like he was a kid, he was in boys' school. He went to like a boarding school for boys during the Fela era. So he was sneaking out of boarding school to go to the shrine and be around like the righteousness of Fela Kuti and all of what he represented to challenge the authority of Nigeria. So I
Mhm.
saw my dad break down as he remembered his like revolutionary years. You know what I mean? So as a result, that planted a seed in me to want to be like, I got you, dad. Like
Right.
your dreams won't be I won't let you down, dad. You know what I mean? Kind of like that. So
Right.
I think that was when the sense of responsibility began, like in the sense of I feel this power and energy and force that's coming from my dad, but I also feel it from my aunts and my uncles, and obviously like remittances and all these things like lost dreams and hopes and all the things that are part of being an immigrant, particularly an
Mhm.
immigrant of such a populous place. So I
Yeah.
took on this responsibility in a myriad of different ways. But when I was at that, so that's to give you context. But when I was at that airport, what was happening internally to your original question? The trip itself really ushered in a shift in me.
Right.
So for me, it's been 12 years of being nonstop Nigeria, nonstop Africa focused.
Right.
And there have been, I can say materially, it hasn't materialized in the
Mhm.
sense that I'm smarter than I was 12 years ago. And now that I'm smarter, I see how much the market at large isn't smart as it's no, excuse me, that's not what I'm trying to say. Not smart. I'm saying like we as a people, I don't know, we're playing the like most at the highest level, if you will, globally.
Right.
And I think I realized that once I got 12 years in of smart. You know what I mean? Like once I was like 12 years in, I was like, "Oh, we're still playing a losing game. Like we're
Mm.
not really like world champion level like nation building
Right.
essentially." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I realized like, damn, my dad's passion for this was in the 70s. It's about to be 2030. And
Right.
so I was just like, so what I'm gonna do? You know what I mean? If we're still gonna be here potentially in another 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, am I really living my life or am I living out my dad's dream? Am
Mm.
I, you know, like am
Yeah.
is this what I really want anymore?
Mm.
You know, I gave 12 years my all for 12 years and
Mm.
I was just like, I want something else actually.
Right.
So that's what was happening inside of me. I was really in the most peaceful way possible, particularly given the natural chaos of Lagos. I just came to
Mm.
a peace of like, you know what? I'm going to put this down right here in this airport,
Mm.
right here. And I'm going to go start a new life, start a new chapter, and not feel guilty for not living and breathing Nigeria and Africa like every stretch of my existence.
I mean, that's big because you point out something that I talk about a lot in the work I do, not just with people from where we're from, but just human. This
Mm,
is really a human thing. And, you talk about that pride that,
mhm.
was instilled, by your
Yeah,
dad in where we're
yeah,
from, being proud of where you're from, which I
yeah,
still, believe is important. At the same time, there's a lot of things that have happened over time. When you talk about the mixed bag with the oil, you think
yeah,
about different, conflicts
yeah,
when the British left Nigeria and some of these things that previous generations carried. It makes sense that as a kid, as our parents' children, we would feel a need to continue to fight the battles
yeah.
they've been fighting to
Hmm.
continue to sing the same anthem that they sang for years. But here's the thing,
Yeah,
it like you said, it's almost 2030. So the question that we have to ask ourselves as individuals is, does this fit with my
yeah.
experience right now? And
Hmm.
if they went all in and they were gung ho, shirts
Hmm.
off, swing around their
Yeah,
head like a World
well,
Cup about Nigeria, and we're still fighting this losing battle,
we're still.
then it's like, you know, we're in a position, I believe, that we gotta you can't keep trying to pound a square peg in a round hole. Like we gotta
That's it
we
right
have to
there.
we're gonna have to go at this a different way.
Have
We're gonna have to
to.
go at this a different way. So it's like,
Mm,
yeah, I
mm,
mean,
mm.
to me, I could definitely relate to that, and that's a big part of moving forward into a new chapter, regardless of what
Yeah.
it is. Is
Yes.
the first step is to put down what can't
Put
come
it
with you.
down.
Put down whatever's what I've been carrying that's not going to be
Yeah.
beneficial in the vision I have for the future, for my future. You know, and that's a big thing that high performers, you feel like, I put in all this time, 12 years, I can't stop
Yeah.
now. And it's like, no, you gotta
Totally.
you gotta know when to hit that break and say, wait a
Yeah.
second. At least let me get some space here and figure out exactly what it is that would be fulfilling to me. If that makes sense.
Yes. And I would love to add on to that. I think a lot of high performers are driven by stories that were that they either wrote themselves or that were told to them in their most formative years.
Mhm.
So, in another case, you can find like a high performing person on Wall Street. And sometimes you don't always know this, but I have been fortunate enough to be mentored by a lot of high performers on Wall Street who've been in it for like decades. And some of them came from the poorest of backgrounds during like the 50s and the 60s. And they went into the money business so they could offset the poverty that they came from,
Mhm.
and so they went to the highest level. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
they were savages. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? During like the run of American capitalism from like the 70s through the early 2000s. Like they
Right.
were the big dog, male or female, through
Mhm.
this era of 40 years of the growth of the American economy. But that drive was due to like not eating when they were
Mm.
6.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say
Yeah, I
that to
do.
say that, like, when you awaken to what is your true motivator, in this case, it was actually living out my dad's dream.
Mm.
But I didn't really know that. You convince yourself, it's like, no, I want to do this. Like, this is what we do as Nigerians. We're the diaspora. We're the kids. We're the ones who, like, it's almost like a relay. They went this far and we'll take the baton and we'll take it to the next, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
you're saying we can reimagine what that looks like. You're, I think I'm definitely saying it's okay, actually, even if you want to like stop running track. Like, it's okay if you like don't
Yeah.
want the relay race. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You don't have
Right.
to repurpose your leg of the race. You can stop racing. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yeah.
So
A hundred
I
per-
think it's once you realize, oh, why am I doing this relay? Why am I in the 4x4? Oh, I'm here because I want to make my dad proud. Oh,
Right.
I didn't catch that. That one was not in my subconscious reflections all
Yeah.
these years. So,
Yeah. And so it sounds like, what you experienced in the airport was just like the light going on. The
yeah.
light going on. It's like, well, all of a sudden you realize, you know what? I love Nigeria. I love my dad. And
Hmm.
there's something I gotta do for me.
There it
and
is.
and and that's really it. That's really it. I mean,
That's it.
so it's. I mean, that's the starter. That's the start of it. Is release. That's always the first
Yeah,
step. And I always find,
totally.
So it's something else that you said that really struck me. You know, when you talked about feeling like you reset your DNA
Oh
and
my
that
God, my favorite.
the anxiety is no longer in your body. I mean, how
Oh
many
my
people
God.
wish, how many people would love to have that experience? So what I'm
Whew.
curious about is what did it actually take for you, that shift to happen, and why was the level of safety, being anxiety free, why was that a non-negotiable for you as you step into this next chapter? I mean, you just moved to Paris. So why was that
Mhm.
anxieties a non-negotiable for you?
Hmm. Remind me, the first question, was it like the how? How did I get there?
Yeah, yeah. Like what did it actually take for the shift to happen, for you to come to
Oh.
that point where it's like, damn, it's actually gone. Like I've reset the DNA.
Oh. Okay, so backstory. So I'm a scientist by trade.
Hmm.
So I am a biologist and a chemist, and I worked on finding the cure for HIV in my formative academic years. And it goes back to growing up watching AIDS kids, like, kids with the bellies and the feed the children commercials, and being like, that equals Africa. And I was like,
Right,
you mean we're dying out here? Like, what? Like, oh
right,
no, we got to eradicate the disease that's taking us out. You know what I
right.
mean?
Oh, I'm
So
with you. Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. Let me become a scientist. Let me get in this lab. Let's eradicate this shit. And so I got very aware of how the body works, all the way down to the cell, all the way down to the nucleus of every cell. And we have trillions of cells in our bodies that have various functions, from organs to, bones and all the different things. Um, and so I've become very familiar with DNA, and much of what I've become aware of in my own spiritual journey is that uh, there can be dormant DNA. So you can have, let's say, a heart issue in your family,
Mm.
and maybe, let's say, in the 1800s the heart issue was more prevalent, but in recent years it's shown up more dormant in recent
Right,
generations, let's say.
right.
So that could also apply to trauma. That can
Oh yeah.
also apply in terms of the result of the trauma. So it's not to say that, like, oh, I experienced a traumatic event, and so that traumatic event gets passed down. It's not to say
Mm.
that, but it's to say, let's say there was a traumatic event that happened in a family at whatever period in the past, and let's say that created anxiety in
Hmm.
said family members or said village or nation. Think about wars and things like that. That
Yep.
Imagine having a calm life, and then, a like, God forbid, type of an event happens. That entire group of people, whether that's a family or a nation, gets shocked,
Right.
right, by whatever the impact is. And now everybody's brain is a little tweaked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's
Yeah.
nervous system is a little off kilter.
Hmm.
And so for some people, they can go on a life experience where it ultimately long term doesn't affect them, but for some people, it can affect them, and it for the people that it doesn't affect, it can still be dormant because that event still had an impact
Right.
on your on your physiology.
Yeah.
So the point of saying all that is to say that resetting the DNA was a concept that I started to become aware of as a scientist foundationally. But I
Mm-hmm.
knew when a series of events, largely in parallel to being a high achiever, a series of events where I crashed and burned and just like couldn't take that next step forward, like as
Mm-hmm.
much as I can like power through or do whatever. That I've had a few events in the last 10 years where it was like, no, 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 I literally don't have another step in front of me. I either drop, just like from fainting, or like I don't know. And so those moments required me to do a hard pivot. So those hard pivots led me to multiple phases of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that healing showed up in so many different practices, modalities, periods of time, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is, over 7 years consistently in exploring and understanding different ways to bring reprieve to my body, for my body to release a lot of the like
Mm-hmm.
tension that it's carrying, whether it was from my lived experience or generationally passed down. I
Right.
feel that over that 7 year period, I was able to wake up, let's say in the last year and a half, and be like, wow, I'm not I'm not on edge. I'm not like on a consistent basis. Like you might have
Right.
like a shaky event or whatever it is and you get a
Mm-hmm.
little off kilter, but not like the deep programming. My subconscious is like wired to be on edge or wired
Right.
to have like a depressive state. And
Right.
how did I get there? For the most part, what they would call quote unquote regulating your nervous system. So a myriad of different exercises. So I became a really serious swimmer. Um, uh, I practice like radical rest. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I am somebody who does not pride myself on working a lot. I
Right.
don't like, I don't have an identity on how much I work.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I have historically struggled with workaholism, but I wouldn't say it's something I would brag about at a dinner party. Like
Right.
it's not something that I'm like badge of honor. I just went 80 hours last week. Like that's
Right.
not
Right.
me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're wiring all of those things. And then candidly, to be very honest, the tip of the iceberg was I moved back in with my mom. I
Right.
moved back in with my mom. It was the most unexpected thing, particularly to be in my late 20s, early 30s. But the high achieving, I didn't want to go to the next rung.
Right.
I wasn't motivated to be in another fancy room with fancy people. Like I just was like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
I
no,
need
I'm with you 100%. The
I
big
don't
thing
give
is
a
like,
damn about this shit. Like I just don't care. So I'll just say this, being around my mom really healed me because I got to see the beauty in all of her and also some of the things that maybe aren't the absolute best, but I realized were the programming that I got from her, I inherited from her, that was leading to said anxiety or depression. So I could see it in my family members and I could unlearn it in my proximity to them
mhm.
so that I could then release it from my body. So essentially that's the answer to that question.
I mean, that's beautiful, really. And just like we were talking about before, and when I mentioned how in ancient Hawaii they say, when you heal yourself, you heal your lineage. Seven
Mm-hmm.
generations back, seven
Yeah.
generations forward. So, it's like
Yes.
thinking about how much love and affection you have for your family. You think about how much,
Mhm.
love that you've put into Nigeria as a whole,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you think about, like you mentioned, traumatic events that have happened in the past, and I think some of these things didn't even happen in our lifetime, but we're
Totally.
still, but because we feel the need to carry our parents' enthusiasm, we carry the
Mm-hmm.
whole dichotomy of their experience without even knowing it, unconsciously. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the work that I've, a lot of these revelations for me came through when I left professional football and
Yes.
now working
Yes.
with people in transition, high performers, a lot of athletes. And
Okay.
so when I talk to NFL players, and they're telling me about all their problems in life now that they're not playing sports.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the first questions I like to ask is, okay, I'm just curious, when you think back on your life, what is it you were running away from that led you to the NFL?
Oof.
Because it's that trauma you're talking about. Like there's something
Oof.
about the way life was that they
Listen.
used as fuel to push them forward, just like those people on Wall Street, just like
Yeah.
a lot of the things that you shared
Yeah.
about what you've been through that led you to this point. And so it's understanding that all of that heavy baggage that we were
Mm-hmm.
carrying
Yeah.
led me to the NFL. It led you to a lot of success in what you do.
Yeah.
And it's really a blessing when you come to that point. You realize that, yeah, this is heavy and I've carried it
Mm-hmm.
long enough.
Yeah, totally.
It,
Enough.
it got me to where I am. It
Totally.
can't come with me where I'm
That's the
going,
part. That's the
you know.
part.
So
Mm-hmm.
and so, I mean, you talk about doing this inner work, and
Yes.
last time we spoke, you talked about becoming a mother, which is something that,
Mm-hmm.
especially being in your mid-30s, having so much
Yes.
professional success. A lot of people would look at the professional success that you've had as the measure of success, period. But you recognize, there's got to be something more. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, when you talk about this inner work as it pertains to becoming a mother,
Mm-hmm.
healing family patterns and being
Mm-hmm.
intentional about what we carry forward,
Mm-hmm.
how has your desire for motherhood reshaped how you define success for Erikan for yourself?
So first of all, I would say I have never been somebody who like measured like said, Erican, you are successful, you are not. Like
Right,
the concept of success isn't something that I like think about at all.
right.
So just which I know is probably like shocking, but yeah, I don't think about it. And so for me, it's always like I've never had a career, I feel, and I've never chased success. For me, it was genuinely a purpose. Um,
Hmm.
and candidly, my drive does go deeper than just that anecdote about my dad. It really actually goes to the being frustrated seeing us in the Feed the Children commercials and being frustrated that that perception, that image, that equivalent led to us being in underdeveloped states. Like I just
Hmm.
didn't like that we would die because the world perceived us as like near dead anyway. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
just didn't
Yeah.
like that association. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then on top of that, we're proud we're Nigerians and we're like kind of we feel ourselves, you know what I mean? So it's just
Right. Yeah.
it's like so contradictory, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
come in with all this energy and you're telling me I'm useless. Like it's just like no, it doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. So
Yeah.
I wanted to correct that, which is still it's still connected to everything that we've said, but I just want to add that there's an even deeper thing that I realize is beyond my dad. But the point to answer your question is so that's always motivated me. It wasn't like I got another award. I've always struggled with that. Like so I get awards all the time. And please don't take this the wrong way. I know it might sound a little like what are you even saying right now? I get awards. People invite me to be on television all the time and it meant nothing to me. Because for me, I didn't do it for clout.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And it don't get me wrong. Strategically, all of it's important. So I'm not saying it's stupid or not good or vain. I'm not saying any of that. It just like never did anything for me. So the point is, when I got to the biggest room, the most exclusive room, the highest room, the most executive room, the most money is in this room. And I
Hmm.
just looked around and I was like, so I'm supposed to do this for another 40 years?
Hmm.
Nah,
Right. Yeah.
y'all can keep it.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, so you mean I'm supposed to like not do the things that I love? This is even before motherhood. It's like I'm a trained musician, I'm a dancer, I'm all these other things that I can't make space for just time commitment wise because I'm
Right.
on 3,000 flights in three different continents every like 6 months. You know what I mean? So it's just
Right.
like from a like a quality of life standpoint, I don't think it makes sense for me to say, yeah, I'm 70 now and I've been on the road for 40 years. Love that for me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that wasn't
Right.
it. And
Yeah.
so when I said, okay, if it's not that, then what else is it? Um, and candidly, it is through my own romantic experiences and then also pursuit of my own personal hobbies and interests. I realized that I could live a different life than how I was brought up.
Right.
So career, like, professional pursuits, like, off the table, there's a whole nother story of like, can I have a family based on some of those childhood formative experiences?
Mm-hmm.
Those things shape what your perception of what family is, what your perception of being a wife is, what a mother is, what a husband is. And it informs your trust. Like, do you trust men? Do you trust women? Do you trust that you could have a marriage that will last decades? Like, there's all those things on what is this notion of ultimately being a mother actually mean in terms of the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of doubt in there. My
Yeah.
story had a lot of doubt and insecurity and not feeling so sure.
Yeah.
And so it was putting down the ambition and the chasing so I could really face that story
Mm-hmm.
that allowed me to then come to say, I love myself and I think it would be amazing to raise adults. Like, not
Right.
even just like have children, like birth them or like
Right.
follow around little babies running around the house, which sounds fun and cool and probably stressful
Mm-hmm.
and all those other things. But I'm gonna be rooting for my 40-year-old so hard.
Yeah, yeah, it's 100. It's that's it's love. It's aloha. That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
And the big thing is like coming up in a Nigerian household with a lot of the things that have happened generationally.
Yeah.
The image of family, especially being here, where
Oof.
how it is like going leaving the house and nothing is like it is when you're at home.
In
They
at
don't they
home,
don't
yeah.
eat, they don't speak the same language, they don't eat the same food, they don't think the
Totally.
same way, and you're sitting here trying to figure out like, okay, where do I fit in? Because
Totally.
when I'm at home, I kind of, I'm still that person I was when I was at school. When I'm out in school or at work, I still got home in me. I can't leave home
Right.
without it. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
always trying to figure that out. And when you talk about, the putting down the anxiety
Mm-hmm.
to in order to get a clear picture of what it is that would fulfill me as a
Yeah.
person. And but as
Yeah.
long as we're always hustling, like you talk about living a different life than we lived. When you have that level of professional success, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, you did change things." Yeah, and I've got monetary wealth, but we're talking about wealth beyond money. We're talking about
Yeah.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
else? Because having been in pro sports locker rooms, worked in
Mm-hmm.
music, and all this, we've been
Mm.
around people who have a lot of money. But
Right.
how many people do we know who have all the money they could ever want and not much else?
I want to jump in on that one because
Please do, please do.
shout out to my ambitious sisters, the aunties, the OGs, the first Black woman to do this, the first woman to do this, the shatter the glass ceiling girlies, and all of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it got really real when I was in those spaces with those girls. And deep down, I could tell that they regretted not having kids.
Mm.
Or deep down, I can tell that they regretted that they don't have an amazing husband that's anchoring them. Or
Right,
I can tell that they still have like they're like whoever their motivator who told them they couldn't do it is the chip that they have on their shoulder, but they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, what. So I just was like, the girls aren't living a life that I would imagine for myself. So
right.
at this point, if you're saying, and this is nothing against the brilliance of my sisters and my mentors and my women I look up to, but I just was like, no, the way that my imagination sees a poppin' ass life for myself,
Hmm.
it's none of y'all are actually examples for the life I truly want. And that
Right.
goes beyond motherhood. It goes into just posture and aura and um sense of delight and jovialness. Like, I think the rigor of going decades at the highest level nonstop, it shuts you off
Yeah,
to a lot of energetic things and experiences and blessings and miracles and serendipity and all those great things. So I just was like, no, this is a life design exercise at this point. It's just like,
Right.
how do I want my body to feel when I wake up in the morning? What kind of gratitude do I want to pray over my meal? You know, how do I want to feel when I'm coming out of a pool?
Hmm.
How will my body feel? Um, how do I want to feel when I'm 80 and I'm supposed to be rickety and hunched over, but I'm still flexible and I'm still able to do what I
Right.
need to do? You know, so I just was like, no, no, no. I want an actual different image of life
Mhm.
that isn't exemplified amongst any of the professionals, male or female, that I'm around. So I actually need to put all y'all down and not keep chasing spaces where y'all are at, because I need to preserve all that energy for me to literally design my dream life. And then this shift to Paris is like, okay, I'm ready to live the dream life now. So
Right.
that's sort of coming back to the Paris part. But yeah, ultimately the motherhood piece was one of multiple different blocks that I said are going to be a part of my dream life.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about. This is why, from my perspective, I see you as an example
Mm,
for what being a high performing woman actually is. When you're always in this mode of go, go, go. I got to
yeah,
get this, raise this money. I got to make this deal. I got to get this job done. That's cool. And it's awesome that you're able to do that. What
right.
I find a lot of times in talking to, clients and other people I've worked with that are, working at a similar level
Hmm.
is they really end up suppressing the part of them that's just a girl.
Right,
Like
right,
like
right,
they just
right.
suppress it. And so it's like you describe yourself as an effervescent California
Hmm.
girl, but still
Totally.
have the ability to speak that technical language of hundreds of
Totally.
billions of dollars, which is rare
Yes.
and
Okay.
is really attractive and really scary as a man. Just to be honest, like that's
No, we
that's like
gotta get into that.
we will. But
No
so
problem.
what I'm wondering now is being both,
Yes.
being that unicorn, being both. How have you learned to hold both of those without
Mhm.
shrinking one side or the other? And
Oh,
where's that actually cost you something in your life, something besides money?
oh my God. This question's about to go hard. Okay. First of all, I've always tap danced with suppressing it.
Hmm.
Like, I've been a smiley girl since I came out the womb, but people have always told me it's too much.
Mm.
So, particularly people in the quote unquote community. So, maybe old elders sometimes, even my
Hmm.
parents at sometimes would be like, okay, we like it, but like, all right now, like little edit here might be helpful. You know what I
Right,
mean? And I'm just like,
right.
I'm just bubbly.
Hmm.
And I think candidly, I think it's because they were the first round of Nigerian African immigrants that came to the US. So they were the first generation of assimilators.
Hmm.
So they were sort of the mindset of to assimilate or not. And to what degree do you shrink or become or not have the hard to pronounce last name? Don't be too loud. You can't show that you're too foreign or whatever it is. So I think it was
Right,
more a little bit of that, like a let's 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 trim this so it fits in this new society that I'm still navigating. You know what I mean?
right.
So I want to honor that it was more of that. But yeah, no, my whole life the effervescence was always like nitpicked,
Hmm.
particularly professionally. So I had a situation, um, I'll just say it. I had a situation at LinkedIn when I worked at LinkedIn when
Hmm.
one of my clients essentially told me that they didn't like my cheerleader spirit.
Hmm.
Actually hilarious to me. I'm
It
sorry.
is, it's fun. It is funny. It is funny. What I found a lot of times people say things like that, and just to put it succinct, because I want you to keep talking, just
No
to put it
problem.
quick, is they hate you because they ain't you. And that's
That's the
really
part.
it. You know. But
So I'm
continue,
like
continue.
some bitter Betsy who's like cranky because she's being just as good as the boys. You know what I mean?
Right,
I come in 24, hey everybody, what's up? What's up? Very powerful secret stealthy bank. You know what I
right,
mean? And I'm coming
right,
in with my cute outfit on and being like, hey yo, let's talk about the product. Let's go. They were like, this isn't
right.
a culture fit. This isn't for us. And it's so
Mhm.
funny because everybody everybody else rock with me. But that one person, usually in my case, the one older lady, is just like, can we pack this up and get somebody new? So
Right.
essentially that created almost like, that was 2017, like almost like 5 years of
Mm,
like bottling it and
mm,
like just like feeling like, well, if I smile too much over here, it could cost me, you know what I mean? And
right.
at that time it was costing a job because I ended up being put on a performance plan for not mirroring the client well enough. That was
Mm,
how the feedback was translated into corporate
right.
speak.
Right.
And so that's how I get it, how the girls become so hardened and so kind of assertive of I will succeed at all costs or against the odds, because in ways that may be different from men, we're being cut down
Right.
for such innate things, you know what I mean, that aren't as applicable to maybe most guys. And so they're fighting a whole separate other battle on top of, you got to be perfect, you got to be all these things, you got to have it
Mm,
crazy metrics, you got to be the number one in order to be seen, etc. So I say all that to say that I literally, at the top of this year was the beginning of me saying like, fuck it,
right.
I'm gonna go back to being all out. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right. Yeah.
last piece I'll say, you said though that it's like scary and also attractive. I would say I've never, well, the you said the hundreds of billions but also be effervescent. The hundreds of billions part, I was stealth on that for most of my professional life. So I've been a stealth person
Mm-hmm.
professionally almost my entire career. And that
Right.
was because I knew I had to protect myself.
Right.
And should I explain what that means? Because I don't actually know that
No,
that's
go
intuitive.
ahead. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
So what I mean by that is, so I studied as I'm a scientist. So
Mm,
I didn't come up as a financier. I didn't take economics classes. I wasn't doing internships at insert XYZ bank on Wall Street.
mm-hmm.
So the way that I came to, the largest financial institutions in the world and all that other stuff was by being a chameleon
Mm,
and inviting myself to places I wasn't invited to
mm-hmm.
and reading the room and, channeling the African ingenuity of hearing and listening to people, not reading books, hearing and
Right.
listening to people and discerning and deciphering what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
that then has implications in whatever environment that it's applicable to. So let's
Right.
say as an example, um I was in Thailand, living in Thailand, doing a myriad of things in Thailand. I came across an event in Singapore that was focused on Singapore Africa business. I sent an email to the PR people of this conference saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I represent LinkedIn." At the time I had left LinkedIn, but it didn't matter because it was part of the finesse. I
Right.
I represent LinkedIn and I would like to be media. I'd like to be press to cover
Mm-hmm.
this conference on LinkedIn. So they
Right.
immediately gave me free tickets. I took a
Right.
one-way flight that night that I sent the email because the event was the next day, and I flew to
Mm-hmm.
Singapore from Thailand. And I arrived and they said, "Great, what ambassadors do you want to have sit downs with?" So
Mm-hmm.
I got to talk to all of these ambassadors across Africa and across Singapore and Asia on so many different nuances of trade and investment across multiple countries across Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But like 2 seconds ago, I was selling software at LinkedIn. So this isn't
Mm-hmm.
something that I had been doing for 20 years. And I went to Harvard and I did all and I studied journalism and it was just me hustling. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just
Well,
like, and
here's the
that's
thing
how,
though. Here's the thing though.
yeah.
It's like when you talk about hustling, that's a
Yeah.
lot of the thing is people think like I got to do all these things, like I got to go to the right school, I got to have the right credentials.
No.
No, but here's this is the wealth beyond money. This is why I like to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You got that opportunity to speak with those ambassadors and be in that room at the highest level for
Mm-hmm.
free,
Yeah,
simply because you were being yourself.
truly.
But so how many high performers, men and women, how many women
Oh, I
are
see.
not being themselves,
I
and they're wondering
see.
why they can't create these opportunities.
I see. I see. I see. So that's why you say a unicorn.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that the suppressing because me, I'm an energy Hawaiian
Yeah.
energy. I'm the weirdest NFL football player you ever met. But
Okay. We
talk
love weird
talking
over
about
here.
talking about the we each have a mother and father, so we each have a masculine and feminine aspect to us. All that go 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 go,
Yeah.
those women hustlers are really in touch with the masculine, but what ends up happening
Mhm.
is they stay too much over there, but
Yeah.
just you just being the
Yeah.
effervescent my father's daughter. Hey, you know
Yes.
what, I'm gonna just ask these people,
Where's
and that's it.
that?
Just gonna ask, and you didn't suppress that and say, if I go over there and I smile too much, they're gonna kick me out. You weren't thinking that.
Totally.
No, but
Totally.
you just so it's like how many more high performing individuals who would just let go and
Woo.
accept themselves completely and do what feels natural, do what feels right, and then you look at the opportunity you created.
Woo. It's so real. So I will give a little bit of a cheat code in terms of what has fueled the integration of those two things, the masculine and feminine and the
Mhm,
effervescence and the multi hundreds of billions, which took time, by the way. It took time to develop the self of the left and the right, and then to realize
mhm,
could they be together and question whether they could, and would
mhm,
I have suitors? Would men like me if I was talking about all these hundreds of whichevers and the billions and the millions and the trillions?
mhm,
Like, would that be too intimidating? Like, oh my God, I went through all of those things,
mhm,
those thoughts,
mhm,
and sometimes still do. Um, but I would say that there's a book called Pleasure Activism.
mhm,
Pleasure Activism. And candidly,
mhm,
I haven't read the whole book. I'm not even gonna hold you.
mhm,
However, the
mhm,
concept is that pleasure essentially means the experience of feeling good. And activism obviously means, advocating for a meaningful cause, if you will. But the point is to say that if you can make change, which most people resist change. So if
Hell
you
yeah.
say, if you say everybody needs to carry on uh, an ideology where we're all recycling, you're going to
Mhm,
get a lot of pushback because that's too much change, right? But if you can make it feel good, if you can make it pleasurable, if you can make it maybe playful or fun or relaxing or inspiring, you are actually introducing the change, but in a way that just feels so disarming and so delightful. And
right.
so we can think about really reimagining life as we know it if we center pleasure as
Mhm,
a form or method for activism.
yeah.
And when I discovered that book, and the way I discovered it is literally another amazing, great story that, maybe another day, another time we can delve into. I love telling that story. But when I discovered that, I realized, oh, so I can still be my father's daughter in the spirit of wanting to make meaningful change and all that other stuff, but it doesn't have to be martyrdom.
Yep.
I don't have to put my body on the line. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, but it's like to me, it's where's the line of really doing everything I can to achieve this positive experience, whether it be in
mean?
my family, my physical health, my career, my relationships, and where's the line between just doing everything you can and really becoming a martyr and sacrificing
Whew.
yourself? Because a lot of it, especially, I mean, when you talk about people with Wall Street, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. A lot of times it's this narrative that's always made me wonder, like, what spell are we under as a
I
global
mean,
society? Like, for real, like, why would you do this to yourself for money? And it's like, there was a point in history where money didn't even exist. And that's not to say money's good or bad. It's just, let's put this into perspective. Why would I stop being me just so people would like me or people would give me opportunities? When the story you just told, if I just be myself, they rolled out the red carpet.
listen, I'm with you on that. I think um going back to sort of the how did you manage to become both of those extremes, if you will, it
Mhm.
is recognizing what the program is.
Mhm.
Like being that type of person who has whatever sort of spidey sense you have, where you're like, oh, I see what game is being played here.
Mhm.
Oh, so let's say maybe somebody grew up in the Christian faith and they're being told that you got to give, you got to be service oriented, you have to be really charitable, you have to be humble,
Mhm.
you can't you can't, essentially you shouldn't pursue success, you shouldn't pursue material things because that'll get you away from God or of the service of people. And so now you grow up thinking money is bad or
Mhm.
it's gluttonous, everyone's greedy, money is evil, and it's sinful to have ambition.
Mhm.
That some people have that mindset. So maybe the opposite of high achiever types who are
Mhm.
like, no, 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 like I shouldn't spend all my energy in that because that will get me in this sort of evil world. Some people perceive like hyper capitalism and all those other things as like evil. So anyway, so I'm saying some of that is connected, but I actually want to bring in race and gender in this moment and say
Yeah.
that I think the experience of growing up, particularly in the US, but also within an African household, as a Black girl, as a Black woman, as an African immigrant child, girl child,
Mhm.
martyrdom is in the way you see womanhood. You know
Mm,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You know what I
Y-
mean?
Yeah.
Everybody slaving over jollof, party jollof, all the
Mhm.
aunties sweating while they're cooking stew,
Right.
and you know, Black women generally being positioned as the face of strength and needing to
Mhm.
be a strong Black woman and
Right.
being magical and be so it is so deeply ingrained in
Mhm.
how we are valued in our community and how we're told good job
Mhm.
to like sacrifice ourselves for the family and the collective. Like candidly, if you're not Gandhi or Mother Teresa or MLK, who were all respectfully martyrs,
Mhm.
what kind of sense is it for you to be like, you know what? There's 1.5 billion Africans or Black people in the world. I'm going to totally sacrifice my one life
Right.
for all of them to be free or for all of them to, and so it's just like, it's like, obviously we love our heroes and our pioneers and all those people, the MLKs and the Malcolm X's and all the things. But I do think that pleasure activism was one of those turning points where I realized, oh, it's not picket lines. It's not hostile retaliations at town halls and sort of being this like vocal whichever. My
Mhm.
mere presence as a unicorn is pleasure activism.
That's it. That's it. And it's like to me, if you really want to do good for the world, it's let your unique magic shine. Like let people know who you actually are, not necessarily trying to fit myself into the picture of whatever narrative they've been telling. And
It's
a lot of
radical
it,
though.
yeah, it
But
is.
can we
It
talk
is.
about it though? Like, what kind of pushback
Yeah.
have you gotten being a quote unquote weird ex pro baller? Like, I want to know.
Well, the big thing I always look at it, with the work I do, helping high level professionals, especially in transition. And recently it's been, mostly women. The big thing is me being different, being what they don't expect out of a Super Bowl champion NFL player. And you say, oh, you speak using Hawaiian words and chanting. And,
Yes.
and I always
Yes.
say, I always remind them that usually by the time they come to me, they've tried everything else
Yeah.
and it didn't work. And so it's like, I'm really grateful that you're trusting me to help you with your problem. If you want to question how I help, the question you got to ask is, do you want my help or do you want your problem? Because the answers a lot of times to
Mm-hmm.
problems that we're having in society today,
Mm-hmm.
I always put it like this, especially in America. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the problems we're facing in society, the answers were probably in the books they banned. And so
Hmm.
a lot of what I bring this, some of that, ancestral wisdom from
Okay.
Africa, ancestral
Okay.
wisdom that I've learned through the Hawaiian culture and
Yeah.
other cultures, and bring it to these high performing Westerners who they
Wow.
have millions
That's
of
so
dollars,
powerful.
but but the
That's so beautiful.
sacrifice they made of self to get those millions of dollars, they're
Mm,
beating themselves up. They're
that's so
suffering
powerful.
internally. And it's like, think about how many people throughout history have taken their own lives that
Mm, mm, mm.
before it hit the news, we thought they were okay.
No, totally.
We got so to me, I had to use alternative methods, learn different modalities, find different wisdom, ancient wisdom, and learn how to apply it in my modern circumstance in order to get to that place where I was able to put down the burden of what I was running away from that led me to the NFL. I had now the NFL's gone and I'm still carrying this.
Do we know
And
this? Like, does everybody else know what this motivator was and I'm missing out?
no, to me, it's really a general thing. And when you talk about people were unhappy with the way life was. So like you take a kid who's playing NBA basketball, right? Who he grew up watching his mom struggle. They never lived in a house, only in an apartment, a walk up. And he didn't like that. That gave him negative. Gave him some negative emotions, some anger because he's mad seeing his mom like this, some sadness maybe for his circumstance growing up in the project, and that's what he was running away from. The thing is, it
Mhm.
led him all the way to the NBA, but that's going to only a stop on the way. So at some point, the NBA it was in the future, then it was the present, and now it's in the past. But he's still carrying this
Yeah.
and they don't know how to let go of it. But the thing is, ancient cultures, the Greeks
Yeah.
had this, the Romans, for the gladiators in the Colosseum, the
Hmm.
Hawaiians had this for integrating warriors back into society. But in Western culture, they didn't have nothing like that. And it wasn't until I started to learn these things that I started to get out of that dark place that people just, oh, they chalk it up to CTE and head injuries. I don't
Oh,
have any of those
okay.
problems.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
but the symptoms, they just attributed it to that. But
Oh,
instead of me, I
wow.
didn't buy into that. I said, no, there's something
Wow.
else going on. I don't know what
Okay.
it is, but I'm done feeling sad. I'm done being angry. I'm done feeling this way. And then
Okay.
just started searching. Say, hey, there's
Hmm.
endless wisdom from all kinds of
Hmm.
different places that
Totally.
for whatever reason they want to ban this book in schools, but that's the book that helped me save my own life. And so a lot of times
Wow.
is bringing that type of ancient wisdom, helping people
Yeah.
to apply it in their modern day circumstance. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, when someone's in enough pain, if they really want
Yes.
a husband and they've been
Yeah.
had to search forever, have no relationships working out, they really want to get into better health. It's like,
Hmm.
listen, I'm honoring that what it is that you desire, and I have a different way of helping you achieve
Yeah.
that. And if you're open to it and you're open to it, then I will open up and give you everything I got to help you get to a place where you're feeling, the word is pono in
Mhm.
Hawaiian. It's just balanced self back. You just return back to yourself. And once you do that, I mean, again, all of the times you think about, you working at LinkedIn and they saying, oh, this girl, she smiles too much. She's too happy. We can't stand it. But the thing is, it's that same girl that they rolled out the red carpet in Singapore. If you weren't that person, you don't have that
Mhm.
opportunity. And so
Totally.
at the end of the day,
Yes.
all these people who are struggling to get their wealth beyond money, whatever that might be,
Yes.
maybe suppressing, especially for a woman, maybe suppressing the feminine, thinking this is a man's world. It's like if you say
Right.
so, if you say it's a man's world, then that's how your nervous system is going to react. And if you
Yeah.
just say, you know what, screw it, I'm my mother's daughter, I'm my
Mhm.
father's son. I'm just gonna be
Mhm.
that. I'm gonna be that,
Mhm.
and whatever happens, happens. Because at the end of the day, the way a mentor of mine,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
strong black woman, strong black woman, she said, "I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'll be somebody's beverage of choice."
Okay. Amazing.
you know?
Amazing. Amazing. I want to also add something. You had asked me what was the wealth beyond money that I essentially, I think you said like received as a result of these two worlds coming together
Yeah.
or as a result of being myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to answer that question from the point of view of when you surrender
Mm-hmm.
to whatever it is. It could be being yourself, or you surrender to wanting to receive your coaching and guidance, or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
ends up being. But
Mm-hmm.
particularly on the like being yourself, which means many different things for many people. But for me, I would say that I'm on like a ramp up of being myself. So there was probably like a 10% of being myself and maybe a 50%, and maybe it might have gone back down and it's now ramping back up. We're definitely over 75% at this point. But the beauty of it, what did I gain in wealth beyond money? The wealth that I
Mm-hmm.
gained in compounding on being myself is that I'm at a stage right now where
Mm-hmm.
I can think something and it shows up.
Right.
Like, that's my working. So if I'm ever tired, it's because I've literally been dreaming and crafting in my mind what
Mm-hmm.
the ideal state of something will be. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, whoo, pooped from dreaming about how good life could get.
Right.
And then it's showing up when I release it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh my God, that thing that somebody else would have thought they needed to grind an extra 30 hours over like winter holiday. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Right.
I could instead lay in bed for like a day and a half on and off and really just feel the thing that I want, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
show up.
You know what? It's funny. What you described is something that I teach. Through ancient Hawaiian wisdom. Just really, Hawaiians were just humans, and so these are really just how life works for human beings.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we've all heard of the law of attraction, seen The Secret, the documentary, and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different laws, law of correspondence, as above, so below, cause and effect, karma, all these different things. But one thing I noticed in my studies is there is, no matter what, whether it's Hawaiian or European or wherever, I've never come across the natural law of assertion.
Mm.
But people are grinding, they're grinding, they're grinding, they're grinding, and wondering why it doesn't work because you're fighting against Mother Nature. Mother Nature is a big bitch with long arms, and I'm not trying to box with her. What it comes down to is if I surrender, get quiet, focus my energy on what it is I want to experience, no wonder it shows up for you because you're
Mm-hmm.
aligned with the way the universe is working. At least that's
Yeah.
from what you're saying, that's what I'm seeing.
Do you sense that men that you work with struggle to embrace something like that? I already know the girls probably struggle with it, but I think ultimately, eventually they can release it and tap into it. But I wonder how if men who are typically told that they're supposed to effort and exert in order to get an outcome and compete and
Mhm.
dominate, do they ever take up this particular teaching or practice or have
Oh,
resistance to
well,
it or
I think there's a lot more resistance for men, a lot
okay,
more
yeah.
resistance than for women, and
Yeah.
it actually makes sense when I think about the way life works, the dichotomy of masculine and feminine.
Hmm.
So especially coming from the American football world, where
Yeah.
assertion is the game. It's
Yeah.
really organized assertion, but it's very assertive, very in other sports, even soccer, all the other sports are
Hockey.
similar. Hockey,
Whew.
same way. So
Jeez.
here's the thing: is like what that is sports in general are very masculine. It's a lot of it's about pushing yourself and asserting yourself. Even if you're just running cross country, you're still asserting your physical body in a way that's different. It contrasts to your normal resting state. So just letting go and allowing somebody to impart wisdom or allowing somebody to help you release whatever you've been carrying, it goes against their formative years programming. They've been playing the sport since they were 5. And so all of a
Yeah.
sudden the sport's gone, but the whole program of asserting
Oof.
has been ingrained in them at a deep level, and it's reinforced by the narrative in society where it's like, hustling, grinding. I think about the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and just how much there's a scene in there where Jordan Belfort's talking to somebody older on Wall Street, and the dude is coked out. He's just
Mm.
coked out because he needed to stay up in order to make it in that business. But what you're saying is, sometimes the opposite is what's going to help you get what you want. And a lot of
Yeah.
men are not always open to that because they believe hustling and grinding. Even if you just listen to rap music, they're always talking
Mm.
about hustling and grinding and staying on the corner all night. And it's like, no, that's you're overexerting. It's too much masculine.
Hmm.
Sometimes you need to, be a little more passive. You need to surrender and accept these things that the universe is, or God is trying to give to you. But no, I want to grind. It makes me feel like I did something. But sometimes doing nothing is doing something.
Yeah,
And that's what it really
totally.
comes down to. And so, I mean, this is what I'm talking about with Wealth Beyond Money Talk. Because again, all these different, uh, looking at, what you're doing with Audacity Assets, looking at your resume. A lot of times people come on to, podcasts and whatnot, and they just want to talk about, okay, what do I do? Just give me the formula so I can make $1 billion. And it's like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
cool. I could do that. But if you're not right inside, that $1 billion ain't going to do anything for you.
And totally true. And it may not come.
It may not
I think
come.
there are more people who are blocked from it coming than the
Hmm.
people who might get it and they still aren't fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like, so if you could think about, there's 8 billion people in the world, but only 3 million people, excuse me. There's 8 billion people in the world, but only 3,000 people are billionaires.
Right. Right.
So we talk about the billionaires who sit in an empty house, and there's only 3,000 of them.
Yeah.
But there's essentially 8 billion people who are unrealized,
Yep. And it's like,
and who are
what?
probably working 2 to 3 jobs, just trying to make it. Either they got their 9 to 5 and they do Uber on the side, or if you're in emerging markets, maybe you got a tuk tuk, or you got a Thai food pad Thai shop and you're selling
Hmm.
beads. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
doing all the
Yeah.
things, which there's gifts and all of that. I'm not putting any of that down. But I am saying, going back to your point about like the men and their struggle to unlearn the working, I think, again, going back to my experience being raised in the Black community and also an African girl, excuse me, what are you doing laying down?
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing? What's rest? Rest from what? You haven't done anything. You're not successful. You don't have kids. You haven't lived a life that warrants taking a nap. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So you need
Yeah.
to be washing dishes. You need to be acting busy just so somebody else who has more anxiety than you, it running through their body and their nervous system, can
Hmm.
feel like you're good enough to be in their presence, because they can't carry their anxiety while you're not anxious.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm pretty stressed out right now. Why are you not stressed out?
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's it. I mean, this is really it, man. It's like having these conversations, where a lot of times people they skirt around this stuff. This is what I was talking
Really?
about. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about when I was down there in Manhattan and doing the media spots, and was like,
Oh,
listen,
yes.
I went to all these family office events and nobody's talking about this. And it's like
Yeah.
you think, but I went to all boys boarding school. I mean, here in the
Oh,
US. Yeah, yeah. I went
okay.
to all
In the
boys boarding school.
US?
Yep. This is where I went for high school. And
Oh, wow.
and a lot of really, really wealthy
Of
families,
course.
not I wasn't the poorest kid in the school, but I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in the upper echelon.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is a lot of these kids who have everything because their parents provide everything, but
Yeah.
their sense of self is screwed
Mm.
up, and they're really lost in a lot of ways. And they're children. In high school, they're children, so they don't know what they don't know. But it just goes to show that growing up with all the money or growing up with no money don't really dictate your path. It doesn't dictate your path. It's are you going to take control of your own narrative and pause like you did in the airport and say, you know what? I'm still all in for my family. I still have this inherent attachment to my homeland and I gotta go.
Yeah. Heavy on the I gotta go.
Yeah, it's like it's like listen, but those two things can coexist. They can both be true. And it's about just integrating those aspects of self, whether it's the masculine and the feminine, whether it's where you came from and where you're going, but it's just about returning to self. And that's really what I'm all about, and that's why wanted to have this conversation with you specifically, is because we could talk about money all day, but how many people are doing that? Like everybody's doing that. Like let's talk
Mhm.
about what's really going on. Let's talk about what's really going on, because there's a lot of people who are operating in a man's world, in high finance or in business, who want to say these things but are afraid because they're suppressing their real self, and really just want to open up a space where we can just get back to being human. Don't worry about the stat. Don't worry about job titles. Don't worry about bank balances. Like, let's get back to, what are we really doing here? And using high finance, using these positions to really make not only the world a better place, or, a country a better place, but make my world a better place for me. Because it's like,
Literally.
yeah, like I had a client who's, who's a rapper, pretty famous. And, he talked about how when he first started and wanting to get into music, he just really wanted to make life better for Black people in America. That's all. That was his whole thing. If I make it, then I have a platform. People have a voice, and I can help. And he was just grinding for years, through decades, where he was just started, having some health problems. And I said, bro, you
Mm.
want to help Black people in America? He said, yeah. I said, where are you from? He's from deep South. I said, look at your own skin. Are you not Black people? Why are you not taking care of yourself? And for decades, I don't know if you'd ever stopped and thought that. You want to make life better
Mhm.
for Black people? You are Black people. And if you don't take care of you, how are you going to take care of them? Wealth beyond money. That's what this is really all about. So